Hello, world. What's up? Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Matt Forte. We're here live at the Build Studio in New York City. NBC's new show, Lincoln Rhyme, Hunt for the Bone Collector, is inspired by the best-selling book series and follows some of New York City's finest as they team up to hunt down the notorious serial killer once and for all. Joining me now, she plays the brilliant forensic scientist Kate on the series. Please welcome the super talented, the awesome, the one, the only Brooke Lyons. Everybody do it up.
Hey.
Make some noise.
Hello.
Come on. There you go. There you go. It's good. It's good.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. Congratulations on this show. And you just wrapped up like 3 days or 4 days ago. Friday.
We just wrapped the season.
My goodness.
Filming Friday.
That's insane. Has it settled in yet that you're done?
No. It's like living in an alternate universe where since September, since we started shooting, you're just in the world of the show every day, all the time, thinking about it. And the real life kind of trickles along, and then the show stops filming, and you're like, oh.
Just you guys in your group text thread that I assume exists.
Still, so many threads. But
You guys doing watching parties? Have you watched the episodes together so far?
We watched the first episode together. I think a lot of us are hanging out here on the East Coast for a little while, even though some of us are from LA, so we'll keep watching together.
You're typically LA based, but you're going to hang out here for a little bit now.
Yeah, I'm from Connecticut originally, but I've been in LA for 15 years. Oh, wow. And kind of came back for the show.
Why on earth would you stay here? You know how much nicer it is over there. You have
it's very warm.
It's true.
In LA, but
quite nice over there.
My family's kind of like, well, now you can't leave.
Yeah. Well, that's right, because you grew up here, so you see everybody, and they get used to seeing you again. And they're like, oh, this is definitely better.
And honestly, there's so much creative inspiration in New York. It's just fun to feel the pulse of a different city, experience different people, influences, bits of culture. It sort of wakes you up. So I'm really enjoying being here.
Nice. Well, I'm really enjoying you being here. This is wonderful. Yeah.
Oh, man. Thank you.
I'm excited to talk to you about this show because I told you in the backstage, and I'll say it again. It's like right in my wheelhouse, and it's a really good show. You guys are all amazing on it.
Thank you.
Impeccably casted and really compelling story. And it's just right. I'm like a Dick Wolf addict. I know this isn't a Dick Wolf series, but it's got that like flavor. It's got that like seasoning. That's usually there, which is nice to see. I'm curious what it was about Kate that got you excited. You know, I'm sure tons of different projects out there nowadays, but you saw this character, you read the script, and you were like, I want to do this one.
I, like you, am a true crime addict. I've seen every episode of Law & Order SVU, but maybe 21
I'm an SVU
seasons.
person, yes.
Like, all the episodes.
You hung in there, even after Stabler and everything, you stayed for the long haul.
That was a tough adjustment, but you got to stay with it.
We had to keep going.
Stay with it.
Committed fans, yeah.
So, truly, I love the genre. I love fictional representations of the genre, non-fictional representations. I can't get enough. And it's always been a dream of mine to be on a show like this. I've done a lot of comedy, a lot of different stuff. But when I had the opportunity to be on one, I jumped at it. And another thing that really struck me about Kate, my character in particular, is that as a woman in Hollywood, you read a lot of interesting breakdowns. A breakdown is, the character breakdown that you get when you audition. And a lot of them are focused on how the woman exists in relation to the man, or she looks like this, and also she's smart. I think there's somebody does an amazingly brilliant Twitter that chronicles all of them. Yeah. Look for it. It's hilarious. But what I loved about her is that it just said a brilliant forensic scientist.
Nice.
And it was all about what she does, her mind, what her passion is, and everything else stems from there, which I thought was a beautiful opportunity. Are
you seeing, because you've been in the game since like the early 2000s, so it's a different planet now than it was then.
Oh yeah.
Is there still a surprising amount of those kind of hollow breakdowns? Like, is there still a surprising amount of that out there of people still looking for, she's smart, but she doesn't know it yet, and just like all these different kinds of things, like these insulting character breakdowns. Has there been a downtick? Have you seen less? Are you still surprised by how much is out there? Like, what's that been like on your side?
I think that my answer is twofold. I've seen less because the landscape is changing. women are speaking up, more women creators, writers, directors, producers in every department, which has been so magical to see. So that's changing things. People's awareness is changing. And also, I've gotten a little older, and I think that's exciting because as a woman, as you get older, you learn that you can start to play different things. But it still exists, yeah. One of my favorites was Pretty Even with her hair pulled back. Was a good one. And I was like, am I... your mind starts going. And to be fair, it's a visual medium.
Right.
It is admittedly a visual medium, and I think...
What a weird way to communicate, so like Pretty Even with her hair pulled back. Like, and
I don't think it's like a nefarious intention behind what they're trying to do. I think it's just... Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
So...
I don't like it a lot, but... I get it. That's an unfortunate thing to run across. Yeah, that would stand out.
Which makes these all the more special.
Right, which makes a role like this very special.
Yeah.
So as a big fan of this genre and so excited to come into this world, I was just talking to from Criminal Minds, Joe Mantegna yesterday, and something that a lot of people often wonder about when you're on a show like this is it challenging to be surrounded by, even though it's make believe, all the gruesome details, all the the bodies, especially for Kate, who's the forensic, investigator. She's got to see all the photos and analyze all that stuff. What was it like becoming, acclimated to that world and being in it?
Yes, it can get pretty dark and pretty heavy. I would say the research I did before and like all summer, I binged on like every sort of forensic book that I could find, and David Simon's Homicide and the Ted Bundy tapes and Exhibit A on Netflix, and really just sort of learning as much as I possibly could. And it takes you to a very dark place. Yeah, if that's all that you consume.
I just picture you over the summer and your husband like, what are we going to binge this weekend?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, the Bundy tapes.
It was...
Can we watch half a season of Sabrina or something and just a palate cleanser? Can we just...
That's what happens. Yeah. Years ago when I used to do a lot of comedy, I think I watched a lot of dark content to sort of balance my mind. And I would come home from work on Lincoln Rhyme and just be like, I need to watch stand-up. Yeah. And just watch the stand-up special. But we have a lot of fun on set, honestly. We make sure to laugh a lot, and it's a beautiful team of people. So
that's the other thing you hear often too, in doing a lot of these and having these conversations, is that sometimes, this isn't always the case, but the darker the show can be, the funnier things will be between takes, because people are just grasping at straws to stay sane.
100%.
You gotta remain human and stay present, of course, for the performance, but it's dark stuff, and you have to process it, and that's kind of how it filters through.
It is, and I feel so blessed to be with these actors, pictured and not pictured, on the show, because we hold space for each other to really feel through and sell those serious, scary moments, because it is on our shoulders to make it real, make it scary, because the content's pretty real, and it's a serial killer show. So we have integrity for that space, and we work really well together, but at the same time, we're all on the same journey, and we know when we need to let the air out and sort of laugh.
Part of the preparation and research, did you get to meet with any actual forensic investigators or scientists or anything like that? Go to a proper lab and
I didn't, and I would love to.
Oh my gosh.
The Ariel and Russell and Ramses and Michael, who are our proper cops, trained with NYPD and had advisors in that way, because they do a lot of physical activities, stunts on the show. You want to know how to hold a weapon. You want to know protocol. In our case, no, Tate is my... Yeah, you and Tate. Felix. Felix is his character's name. But we do the science and technology things.
Yeah. And they assumed, everybody kind of knows how to look in a microscope. But they're going to know if you don't know how to hold a gun.
Totally.
Kind of it.
I think that's kind of the idea. And also, it's fun with TV. I always say film is like meeting somebody full on, their whole story, you get it in a finite period of time. TV is fun because you meet somebody a little bit, even as the actor, you get the first script, you meet them a little bit, you get the second script, there's another layer. And we're learning them as you're learning them.
That's fun.
And it's a fun medium, so I'm excited to deepen it even further as the show goes.
Are you the kind of actor or performer that'll sort of, in the absence of provided backstory, come up with some backstory to help fill in the gaps and things of that nature? Did you do that for Kate? Yeah.
I did that with Kate. It's an interesting exercise because, yes, 100% I do that. But again, it's this symbiotic relationship with the writers, and it's an organism. The story of the show is this thread that's developing as it goes. It's not necessarily predetermined at the outset. So you don't want to get too detailed, because then, in season 3, when somebody's like, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing. That's a double-edged sword, right? Like, on the one hand, okay, good, I have all this backstory, I can play with that. But then eventually the writers are going to catch up to whatever it is you've invented, and you're either going to be in alignment or you're going to have to, like, rewire what you've been thinking. So it's challenging.
Yeah.
You talk about, like, how you were researching all summer and getting prepared. Is that how you approach all the roles, or was that specific to Kate in this world because you were such a fan? It
depends on the type of role, because forensic scientist is something I have not been.
Yeah.
Full disclosure, I'm not a forensic scientist. I know, it's shocking. I felt the need to do a lot of research into that. And yes, the discipline, but not even getting too much caught up in the discipline, thinking more about what does somebody do this for? What type of mind is drawn to this work? And specifically, if you're going into the field of forensic science, why an elite task force? Why a serial killer? This is the type of work that takes a toll on people. I mean, mental, physical, psychological. So that helped me to understand what makes her tick and her motivations.
For sure, because there's something about Kate where it's like, she doesn't just love what she does, like, she has to do it. She has to know the end. She has to solve the puzzle.
Yeah.
And so it's really interesting to understand, like, well, why does she have to solve the puzzle?
Right.
Is it because she's she just wants to be the hero, or no, what's happened in the past? Like, all those fun little things, like, and they kind of reveal bit by bit. Do we, without spoiling anything, do we get to see more of why Kate has to solve those puzzles as the series goes on?
We do. We get to see a lot in episode 4, which is coming up in a couple of weeks, just of her backstory.
Yeah.
Because it is a bit of a compulsion. And when somebody has a compulsion like that, you have to wonder why.
Yeah. Yeah. And the seeds are planted for a very complicated past that she has there with everyone on the team.
Yeah.
So it's definitely set up some cool stuff that I'm waiting for the payoff. I saw an older interview that talked about when you wrote your book years ago, right? But it mentioned that you had kept journals, and so when it came time to write the book, it was really easy. And I was curious. First of all, I think they probably downplayed writing the book. Writing a book's always hard, whether you have journals or not. But did you keep journaling? Are you someone that journals to this day? Did that stick with you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My whole life I've journaled and written.
No way.
Let's talk about compulsively.
That's the segue right there.
Shelves and shelves.
Really? Of journals and entries and stuff like that?
And not really like Dear Diary, but sort of it's the way I process the world and then release things that have happened. It's the way I understand what's going on around me.
Has it, as you've continued to do this throughout your life, and now you're a mom and you have all these shows and stuff, is it harder to find time at the end of the day to sit down and do that and compose those thoughts? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But you do. You find the time to do it, yeah.
I do. Less now, and the nature of it is different now. But I do it when I can, particularly when I'm grappling with something that I can't quite wrap my head around. But I have a 2.5-year-old at home, so not a lot of free time.
Not a lot of free time.
No, a lot of Legos.
A lot of Legos, have you? Which, as Terry Crews has explained, Legos can be very therapeutic as well. And enlightening.
They are.
Yeah, there's something about them, yeah.
It's fascinating mentally and creatively to tap back into those things that we all, Legos, reading very simple books, drawing a picture, putting the phone down. It unlocks something very sort of primal in your brain. It's kind of cool.
It's just so funny though. I grew up with Legos. I loved them, but I think it was Terry Crews who had done this big Lego project, and he was like, I just see it as a metaphor. Even if we're all in pieces, we're not broken. We're just not yet whole. And I was like, geez, Terry,
that's beautiful.
Right?
Okay.
I was like, I was just trying to make the pirate ship, but like that makes a lot of sense. Like I get that now.
You're more of like an end game type of guy.
Yeah, well, that's what I always was. Yeah.
Fair enough.
What's the oldest journal you've ever gone back and revisited, or do you not revisit them? You must. That's why they exist.
This is the major question with journals.
Yeah.
Some people burn them. Some people are like, it's the full moon. I'm releasing all of myself.
I love the ceremony of that, of just burning all the past stuff. But to me, I wouldn't be able to do it. I'm very sentimental to a fault, and I think I hold on to a lot of things that I should be better at letting go of. So I don't
Interesting.
journal, but I have things that, like, I have notebooks from when I was in like middle school.
And why don't you let it go?
I don't know, because I'll open them and like it'll trigger a memory from that time of like, and that's why. And that's what I mean by sentimental to a fault. It's not a valuable memory. It doesn't mean anything. I was in 8th grade. Nothing mattered then.
It could be valuable.
But it could be, and it's just like, it's like a weird little time machine. Like when we, because we didn't have photos of everything back then, right?
Yeah.
So you have these little artifacts.
I like it particularly because as a person in the creative arts, it's sometimes the well is full and you have a lot to say and a lot that you want to express. But sometimes you need to fill the well. Yeah. And I don't go back a lot, but going back, remembering past versions of yourself or something that you may have experienced in a period of your life that you don't recall, it's not in the front of your mind, can trigger something, make you want to tell a new story that you haven't told.
I usually, we're going to go to audience questions in just a second, and I usually, before we do that, I always go, well, I love this show, which is true, and then I say, what are you working on next? We were talking...
A human person.
Looks as though it's a human being, yeah.
Yes.
Hold for applause. Congratulations, by the way. That's really awesome.
Thank you.
Number 2, right?
Number 2.
Number 2. And you have a 2-year-old at home?
I do.
Oh, my God. So exciting.
So it's good timing. We finished on Friday.
Yeah, I was going to say, how serendipitous. Everything kind of wrapped up right on time.
It was kind of magical. The whole series, it's all great. And then sort of maybe the last episode, I'm holding a file folder often.
Oh, I love those TV tricks. Where all of a sudden that one character just has a box and then their lunch and then a folder.
And then a pillow or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's just there's always something that's you got to live. That's really fun.
So that's my next project. But I have to say I do feel very fortunate too to work with a group of people and a studio and a network who are supportive of that.
Very cool. Well, it's an awesome show, genuinely. I really do think it's
Thank
great.
you.
And I love your character and everybody on it. It's so much fun to watch, even on such a dark show. It's just like you guys are obviously having a good time making this show.
We really
and
are.
I'm really excited to see how it all plays out. You can catch it on Hulu if you haven't caught up yet, but there's a new episode. I want to say it's this Friday.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, Fridays at 8, 7 Central. Or, like I said, you can watch it on Hulu. We're not done yet. We got a couple of audience questions. Let's do those before we wrap things up. The first one, you've got a microphone right here. Go for it, sir.
Hi.
Hi.
What has been your biggest challenge taking on this role?
Oh. What has been my biggest challenge taking on this role? Kate is a person who doesn't feel the need to prove herself. My character, she's sort of effortlessly brilliant, effortlessly precise. And I think whether you want to make it gendered or not, there's the impulse among people, sometimes among women, to have to prove themselves either to themselves or other people. I certainly feel that all the time, like I'm pedaling to be like, I'm good enough, that human impulse that we all have. And for me, that was the biggest mental switch that I had to every day commit to walking in a totally different mindset. And she's cool as a cucumber. She knows she's the smartest person in the room. She's so just fully embodying that and knowing that she's a very different person than I am.
Thank you for your question. There's a great moment where early on where there's getting everybody back together, and it's like here's Lincoln, this like Harold character, the smartest guy, the legendary, and she walks and Kate has her rules. If this is going to happen, you know how this works. She's still in control of the scenario.
Yeah, she's not trying to win anybody over. She's like, this is who I am. These are the rules.
Very cool.
I aspire to that, but
I think we all kind of do, right?
yeah.
Kate, I'd love to do one more. Let's do one more. Microphone. Hello, go for it.
Hi. Congratulations on
Thank
your
you.
second child. As far as now that you've done comedy and true crime, which do you prefer?
Is it a cop-out to say both for different reasons?
Of course, you can say that.
I think both.
So, what was your favorite scene that you filmed in this then?
My favorite scene in this, probably the episode that I was just talking about, episode 4, where I get to, you'll find this is not giving away too much, but to a body farm.
Oh.
It was not a real one. But Kate spends a lot of time in the lab with her science and her test tubes and her DNA sequencer. But got to go out in the field, which was rare and exciting and sort of mind-blowing to consider how that's the training for somebody in this profession is a body farm. And that is exactly what you think it is. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your question. before we wrap up, as a true crime fan, what's the either most recent or thing that you've watched, or like what are you watching right now or listening to? Maybe it's a podcast.
Let me think about this.
I just did. I don't know if this constitutes true crime, but on Netflix, the Don't Fuck with Cats. Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
My Netflix keeps suggesting this. Do I have to watch it?
Here's the deal. Especially as an animal lover, it's a little rough. The first, it's like 3 parts in the beginning. You kind of have to power through the explanation and the setup, but you have no idea where that story's going. I didn't know anything about it before I went into it, other than people were like, I should watch it. And then I did, and I was pleased with where it went. It's mind-boggling. It's crazy. Yeah.
Wow.
But again, and it's not, they don't show the video in question, but they show enough that I was like, oh, made me upset. Yeah, big animal person, so it's hard.
Okay.
But he gets his comeuppance. Debatable.
Comeuppance.
Yeah. I don't think people use comeuppance enough these days.
Bring it back.
I'm trying. Anyway, congratulations. Thank you so much for coming by and hanging out with us today.
Oh, it's such a pleasure.
And,
Thank you.
Congrats again on this awesome show. So I'll remind the world, you can catch up on Hulu if you haven't seen the first 2 episodes, and then you can watch in real time with the rest of us Fridays on NBC, 8, 7 Central, Lincoln Rhyme Hunt for the Bone Collector. Thank you guys for being an awesome audience and hanging out.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks to those who tune in live. That's correct. Keep doing that, but louder for Brooke Lyons. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.